From the garage that sparked the global self-care movement, welcome to the Human Garage Experience, a podcast where we have unfiltered conversations on self-healing, consciousness, and optimizing your life with fascinating individuals changing the status quo. I'm your host, Garry Lineham, and I'm honored to have you here. Let's get down to it. Mark, you fundamentally have changed the world of functional medicine worldwide. I've been following you for a long time. First of all, it's an honor to have you here.
Yeah.
I'm trying to grasp, why this is so important to you. Like because you really dedicated your life to making this change.
Well, I always was interested in health and nutrition, and I was a yoga teacher before I was a doctor. And
you were a yoga teacher first?
Yeah.
You got to be kidding! I didn't know.
Back before yoga was popular, it was like everybody was on towels and sweatpants, Lululemon or yoga mats.
Yeah.
And then I was very interested in nutrition, lifestyle, and health, and studied a lot when I was in college. But then I got very sick when I was in my 30s after I became a doctor, and had to really figure out what was wrong and reverse engineer my way back to health. And traditional medicine had no answers. I had developed chronic fatigue syndrome, my muscle enzymes were extremely high, I had severe gut issues, immune issues, cognitive dysfunction, and it turned out I had mercury poisoning. And so I had to basically figure that out, and it wasn't a thing that traditional medicine actually helped me with. And I realized that so many people were suffering, and I discovered functional medicine, began to apply it to my patients, apply it to myself, and see miracles every day. Really extraordinary things, like kids who are autistic becoming normal, people with Alzheimer's reversing their disease, people with autoimmune diseases reversing their lifelong problems, people with chronic migraines, or whatever the condition was that was untreatable, whether it was PMS or irritable bowel syndrome, which are more mild or more serious conditions. I would literally see miracles every day. And I realized that there were so many millions of people suffering needlessly, and that I needed to get the word out. And so I just started writing about it.
For time context, when was it?
When I was in my 30s, so it was probably 30 years ago.
30 years ago. And that, in 30 years ago, that, from a functional medicine standpoint, that was the pioneering early stages. That's when other doctors would have called you a heretic.
Oh yeah, I was definitely considered a quack. And I think that was a compliment. I think for me, when you're pushing the envelope and pushing the boundaries of knowledge and scientific exploration, I think, people always question you. It's happened throughout history, whether it was Darwin evolution and the monkey trial, the Scopes trial, or whether it was Galileo and
I feel
Copernicus, or whether it was
I feel that too. I'm not a doctor,
yeah.
and I had a practice with 52 doctors,
yeah.
because I just couldn't fix myself. That was the similar issue.
Yeah.
So if you were to dismantle one of the illusions in the wellness world right now, what would it be? If you were to take one of the illusions, the big ones that's out there.
Illusions in the wellness world? That's a good question. I think, I think the thing that most people don't realize is that their body has a built-in repair system,
right?
A healing system, and it wants to be well, and that disease is basically the body's best attempt to deal with a bad set of circumstances. So to really understand what's going on, it's not just about window dressing or different superficial treatments or trying this or that. It's really about understanding root cause and navigating to root cause. And so I think a lot of people get lost in a lot of cool therapies and biohacking and things that don't actually address the real fundamental root causes of why their system's out of balance.
And speaking of biohacking, because a lot of people biohackers came to the Human Garage Clinic in Venice, and I've noticed that they are overstimulated and creating more problems in their body as a culture. Not all of them, but generally I've noticed that. Have you noticed the same?
People experiment, and they have some benefits for sure. But I think, for people with serious illness, it's not going to help them.
Yeah.
You've got to get to the real fundamental cause.
You got to get to the fundamental cause. Mm-hmm. When you talk about the fundamental cause, and you're talking about the body heals itself, like I believe that. I believe that innately the body is designed to repair itself.
Yeah.
And if it's not, there's a maladaptation in the environment. There's either an environmental issue or there's a response to the environmental issue.
Yeah.
What are you seeing right now currently is the biggest issues with your patients and the people that you're working with in your communities right now?
I mean, I think there's a number of different factors that are driving disease. I mean, food is the biggest by far. So our modern diet is something we're not adapted to. It's highly processed for most people, increasingly globally. There's an enormous mismatch of our genes and our diet. So we're eating foods that are highly processed, that are high in starch and sugar, that are very inflammatory, and that drives a lot of the inflammatory diseases we see, from heart disease to cancer to diabetes to dementia to infertility to depression, mental illness. All these things are inflammatory conditions. So I think that's number one. Number two is the sea of environmental toxins that we live in.
Yeah, the sea of toxins, right?
Invisible, ubiquitous. We're swimming in them, whether we like it or not. Even if we try to live healthy, you know, there's all sorts of petrochemical toxins, plastics, phthalates, parabens, PEEP.
Do you like? What do you do to avoid that yourself?
You know, I do my best to sort of build the structures around me that help filter my water, or have an air filter in my house. You know, try to eat organic or regenerative when I can. Have a water filter that makes sure I drink filtered water. And also, I think reducing skincare products that have toxins in them, household cleaning products, understanding what toxins are in our food and fish and meat, and avoiding those. And then helping the body enhance its own inherent detoxification system, you know, through the liver, kidneys, sweat, stool, but really upregulating all the biological pathways for metabolizing toxins.
We built our whole worldwide network around people, and that's one of the first things we do is get the body out of stress and start to deal with the stressors, the environmental toxins. Those are the ones that are really impacting people. I get that.
Yeah.
What about the field of medicine itself? Like, if you were to think about medicine, I mean, you are on the outside of it, and you're not in the inside of it. You're not in the thick of it.
Been in the middle of it. Cleveland Clinic, you know, is the belly of the beast, so to speak.
Yeah, fair.
Built the Center for Functional Medicine, right?
But you're on the outside of the thought process. You're in the middle of the outside.
Yeah.
If you were to look at it today and you say, what's being done out there in medicine that if we were to go like 10 years in the future and say, whoa, that was like malpractice, or that's something that we shouldn't have done. What are the things that are being done to people today that we're going to look back and say that wasn't smart?
I mean, I think it's really the whole paradigm of symptom-based treatment that's founded in our disease-based diagnostic system. So we're really good at labeling people with different diseases.
Sure. Yeah.
You have rheumatoid arthritis, you have MS, you have depression, you have diabetes, you have migraines, whatever the disease is, and then we're really good at finding the drug to match that disease. But what we don't do is don't understand how everything's connected and how to get to the root cause and remove that, and then add in the things the body needs to thrive and help health emerge from that. So health really emerges when you remove the things that are impeding your health. It can be toxins, allergens, microbes, stress, poor diet, which all influence your gene expression, and then adding in the things the body needs to thrive, you know, the right food, nutrients, the balance of hormones, light, air, water, movement, sleep, rest, you know, connection, love, meaning, purpose. These are all the ingredients for health.
Right.
And so when we take out the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, the body naturally goes back to its resting state, which is this dynamic state of health. And it happened at any age. So the body has incredible reparative, regenerative, renewal powers. And I think what's fundamentally flawed is this model of diagnosis based on symptoms and geography. Where is it in your body, and what are the symptoms?
Right.
Not on cause and mechanism. So if someone has psoriatic arthritis, for example, they have skin issues, they have joint issues, they feel bad, they have lots of inflammation. We treat the skin with topical stuff. We take immune suppressive drugs rather than getting to the root cause. And then we basically are, I believe, you know, I don't know if we want to call it malpractice, but we're doing the best we can with the tools we have, but they're the wrong tools. We have the wrong map for the landscape of disease.
Yeah, fair enough. We have the wrong map. I agree with that. Disease, you know, the body's not at ease. And a lot of what I've experienced my own personal life, and I've watched with now tens of millions of people worldwide going through our programs. I've noticed that when people have emotional distress, their body's not at ease, and if they leave that emotional stress in long enough, it starts to be measurable.
Yeah. The issues in your tissues.
Yeah, for sure.
I think
right?
people for sure have stored a lot of trauma in their bodies, and it can be expressed in lots of different ways. And we know, for example, through childhood trauma, there's very good data on what we call the ACE questionnaire, which is adverse childhood events. And if you've had, divorce in your family, or your mother's an alcoholic, or someone's been in jail, or you've been yelled at, or abused, or neglected, and there's a whole set of questions that help you identify what your score is. And people with a high level of adverse childhood events tend to have more health issues, autoimmune diseases, diabetes, obesity, cancer, I mean, you name it, across the board. So, the psychological trauma is real for so many of us, whether it's small traumas with a small t or big traumas like sexual abuse with a big T. They're all impacting our biology. And so how do we unwind that, and how do we, re-regulate from those embedded patterns that get set up in childhood? And I think that's a really important field of medicine that's been underappreciated and explored. And I don't think talk therapy really does it most of the time.
It didn't for me.
And I think, when there's an emergence of different kinds of therapies, like psychedelic assisted therapy, which I think is going to be one of the
That worked really well for
powerful
me.
tools to help people deal with childhood trauma. I think there's, tissue work like you do, I think is important to kind of reset the nervous system. So I think, combining all these modalities really will help. But again, it's looking at root causes.
In my own personal story, 8 concussions, a couple near-death experiences. So I relate to what you went through.
I've had a few of those.
and PTSD, but I didn't realize that I had PTSD because I was in it.
Yeah.
And when I, in my clinic, I was able to get treatment 3 to 5 days a week, and I was able to calm the stress down enough so I was functioning and I felt I was good. But when the pandemic came, I wasn't good again, and I started doing these crazy little maneuvers that looked like yoga, essentially, fascial maneuvers, and to get myself out of pain. And over a course of a month, all of a sudden I was primarily out of pain. And over 3 months, I had started releasing all these emotions, which all the childhood issues started coming up.
Yeah.
When you say the issues in the tissues, I mean, a lot of people actually do believe that. Fundamentally, that's one of your beliefs?
For sure. There's a great book called The Body Keeps Score, and I think that's a really great...
It's an awesome book.
Yeah, an awesome description of what happens when people have trauma and how it ends up in their biology. Carolyn May says your biography becomes your biology.
Right. What about...
I think also I would say that your biography is also influenced by your biology. So your biology can influence your biography. In other words, if there's things that are causing dysfunction in your body and your biology, it can affect your cognitive function, your mood, your behavior. So for example, if you're mercury poisoned, that affects you in terms of mood, depression, anxiety, insomnia, cognitive function, memory, attention. And there's the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland. They use mercury to make the hats stiff, and they would become crazy.
Yeah.
So I think your environment also influences your cognitive.
It's a bilateral relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
Your environment is.
Your body affects your brain, and your brain affects your body.
Yeah. And the way I say it to people is, your brain is just narrating the experiences of the body, and the body's having bad experiences. The brain's narration is equally as bad. Mm-hmm. Where did it change for you? Like, where was the big turning point for you in the last, let's say, 20 years or so? Like, there was a significant change in the way that you saw the world. Watching you from the outside. I mean, my mother got me to follow you a long time ago.
Yeah, sure.
And so where was the big changes for you?
I mean, it really, was when I got sick, and I already was, working at Canyon Ranch, already focused on lifestyle and prevention and wellness and some integrative medicine practices. But it wasn't until I got very sick that I then had to really dive deep into the field of understanding human biology and reverse engineer my way back to health using the principles of functional medicine.
Would you consider yourself to be like a pioneer or a leader in functional medicine? Do you think
I
that
don't
way?
know. I'm just trying to figure it out like everybody else, but
Yeah.
I've certainly had the privilege of being able to see tens of thousands of patients and apply it over 3 decades and see extraordinary outcomes. Not everybody gets fixed, but I would say a good 80 to 90% have either complete cure or significant improvement in their overall health.
What are some science-backed thoughts, processes today that are you're challenging right now, that you're looking at and saying there must be another way?
I mean, I think even though I think people understand this, nutrition is still ignored in medicine.
It is, isn't it?
It's pretty much ignored. There's
Yeah.
lip service, so yeah, I should eat better and exercise more, and it's pretty useless information to say that. And I think doctors don't truly understand how food is medicine, and it can be applied as a pharmacological treatment for many illnesses.
It is medicine.
And
Right.
just as there are many drugs, there's many nutritional interventions that are different depending on what your problem is.
Thanks for watching and tuning in. These conversations have radically shifted my life, and I want you to experience those radical shifts too. Take these conversations and integrate them into your body by joining one of our fascial maneuver reset programs. Introduction to fascial maneuvers, 7-day reset or 28-day reset. We're going to put the links below. Take that cerebral knowledge and that experience that you're having right now and bring it into your life by resetting it in your body. These programs have radically shifted my life, and I know they'll radically shift yours. Don't wait another moment. Reset your life today.
So if you have dementia or if you have irritable bowel, the diets might be very different, right? And how do you navigate that? So it's just like drugs. There's different drugs for different diseases at different doses, given for different lengths of time and different intensities, and that's really the beauty of understanding the body. You basically can use food to navigate so many different health issues. That's one area I think that doctors are kind of missing the boat. I think our understanding of environmental toxins just is completely absent from traditional medicine. There's some understanding, vaguely, that they might affect our health, but how do we assess them? How do we measure them? How do we treat the body? How do we get rid of toxins? That's completely, again, invisible in medicine. And that's unfortunate because there's so many people that can be helped by, like myself, who had extraordinarily high mercury levels. And by learning how to detox my own body from heavy metals using chelation and many other approaches, I was able to reset my system.
What about parasitic medicine, parasitic diagnostic? And I've noticed a lot of talk around parasites in cancer, parasites in MS and the brainstem and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think there's things that catch people to, kind of fancy. Well, people talk about candida, or I've got parasites. And I think, there are for sure people who have that, but I don't think it's as ubiquitous as people think.
Because there is a lot of people saying that is a cause of cancer and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think there are many causes of cancer.
Yeah, sure.
Diet, toxins, microbes, viruses. I mean, there's a lot of causes.
Emotions.
Yeah. So I think it's really like there's no really such thing as cancer as a single entity. There's
It's a bunch of things that
Yeah, and
contribute.
there's many causes.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, and I would also say that people get confused because they see people with a certain syndrome, like you have X cancer or breast cancer, or you have Parkinson's, or you have Alzheimer's, and these are just clusters of symptoms that emerge from different causes. So you can have many causes for the same exact diagnosis.
Sure.
And so you can also have many diseases that are caused by a single causative factor, like gluten. Can cause 100 different diseases, from osteoporosis to anemia to autism to schizophrenia to depression to
Everybody
autoimmune
responds
diseases,
differently
colitis.
to
And
that.
so you can have the same cause with many diseases, and you have one disease with many causes. So, for example, rheumatoid arthritis might be caused by a parasite. In some cases, caused by Amoeba histolytica, which is an amoeba. Or it can be caused by gluten in some patients, or it can be caused by Lyme disease in others, or it can be caused by heavy metals in others. So the same disease can have the different causes, and traditional medicine doesn't understand that. And they group everybody with the same syndrome. It's a syndrome. It's just a collection of symptoms that we used to aggregate people and then to put them in a category. So you would say you have depression. Well, that's not the cause of you being sad. That's the name you give to people who are sad. So knowing the name of the disease doesn't mean you know what's causing it. Right?
Well, we get that in physical medicine. You get plantar fasciitis. So plantar foot fasciitis means your fascia is agitated. It doesn't know. It's not saying it's a liver meridian, a bladder meridian, gallbladder. Right. It could be anything.
Right.
So it's not specific, right?
Right. So it's really important to understand that. And when you have a patient in your office with a condition, it's constantly a new discovery of what that person's unique set of causes are. And that's what functional medicine is really good at. Is really a method of thinking about how to solve these complex diseases.
Because not everybody fits in that box. That's what medicine is trying to do, is put everybody in one box and then give it a symptom or a name.
And then we apply a drug to that.
And everybody's unique and different.
Yeah. So if you got rheumatoid arthritis, there's a cocktail of medicines. It's a cookbook recipe of what to give in what order, and it's pretty standard.
Yeah.
But they're all immune suppressive drugs, whether it's prednisone or methotrexate or TNF-alpha blockers or whatever the drugs are. They might mitigate symptoms, they might provide some relief, they might be helpful in preventing joint damage, and all that's great. But it's much better to try to find the cause and then remove that, so the body doesn't have to continue to need these drugs that suppress the immune system.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's actually seems like the craziest thing to me is you're suppressing the system that's supposed to keep you alive.
Yeah.
So if the public knew more about chronic illness, if you were to take a look at it, what would be, because a lot of people identify it. If you say chronic illness 20 years ago, not too many people identified with that, but today a lot of people do.
Yeah.
What's one thing that people would, if you were to tell them with chronic illnesses across the board, what's one thing that they could do to make a change in their health right now?
I mean, the biggest modifier of your biology is what you put in your mouth every day.
So,
and so
what do you tell people when
you really need to think about food as medicine, number one.
Yeah.
That every bite you take is full of molecules that interact with every aspect of your biology, and that it's information, and you're literally coding your biological software. You're writing code, like you're causing changes in your gene expression and your hormones and your brain chemistry and your metabolism and your microbiome and your mitochondrial function and your immune system. All these things are regulated by what you're eating. And so if you don't understand that, then you're going to put stuff in your mouth that is causing your body to end up in a cycle of dysfunction and ultimately disease. So understanding how to eat a whole foods, anti-inflammatory, microbiome enhancing, disease preventing diet is really important. And
what about the trendy diets? Like, because now we've got
I think there are many ways.
Versus
vegan.
There's
many ways to skin a cat, and depending on your condition, you need different approaches. Like I said,
there's not one that works for everybody.
No, I mean I think the principles of one, we should be understanding that food is medicine, that food is information, that we should personalize our diet, and that it should be real whole food that's as close to nature as possible. Is principles that apply across the board. But then how do you do that? How do you apply it? What are the nuances? I think there's too much noise around nutrition, around the margins.
Yes.
And not enough focus on the fundamental principles of how to create health with food. And so people get distracted by, seed oils or, food colors or, carnivore or keto or paleo or vegan or whatever, and it's just noise. People need to kind of honestly forget all that and look at what they're eating and how it's affecting them, and then experiment, because the smartest doctor in the room is your own body. And your body, if you listen to it, will tell you whether or not what you're eating is actually harming you or helping you. How do you feel? How's your energy? How's your brain fog? How's your digestion? How your body pain? What's happening with your other disease symptoms?
How do you get people to, this is something that we work with a lot, how do you get them to start being their own diagnostic tool?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they eat based upon a rigid formula.
I agree. I think, what's really remarkable, Gary, is that within just a few days, I'm not talking like even a week, like 5 days, and if you do it for longer, it'll still be better, if you change your diet, you can see profound and rapid changes in your health. For example, I created a program called the 10-Day Detox Diet.
Right.
And you can go online and anybody can get it. There's a free version, there's paid versions and involve coaching and support. Go to 10daydetoxdiet.com. And when I do these programs, I do them all around the world with people, in person. And I've done this for 20 years. It's just staggering what happens to people in a short amount of time.
Not 10 days.
So we give them a questionnaire where they score all their symptoms: headaches, digestion, sleep, mood, joint pain, fatigue, whatever.
Sure.
And you get your score of 0 to 4 on how severe it is, or do you have it or not. And at the end of 1 week, not even 10 days, 1 week, there's a 70% reduction in all symptoms from all diseases across the board.
Across the board.
That's average.
And this is
average.
This is 10 days.
Some people have more than 70%. Some people have a little less. But it's not even in 10 days. Like when I do these programs, it's like 5 full days of the program, and then a day in and a day out.
I'm feeling we should add this to our 28-day reset.
It's really remarkable, and the way I've designed the nutritional program is based on my 30 years of experience in functional medicine about how do we help people eat an anti-inflammatory diet that supports the microbiome and that is designed to repair and heal the body as opposed to harm it. And it just, to me, it's like it seems miraculous and crazy to say it, but it's something we've done with thousands and thousands of people, and it's universally the same result. Now, some people might not get better.
Sure. Fair.
For example, I ate turkey, rice, and broccoli for 6 months, and I didn't get better because I had mercury poisoning, or if you have Lyme disease, or you have something else. But I would say most of people's issues are coming from the food they're eating. So most people don't connect what they eat with how they feel. And so that's why this program is so powerful, because it helps people connect the dots. It's like, oh my God, I'm not just getting older. This isn't just normal. I don't have to suffer with these symptoms. And then I can reintroduce foods and see, what the foods are that are causing a problem, and I can stay away from those foods, or I can repair my gut so I can then add foods back. So you basically can then take the program to its continuation, where you actually start to become aware of what are the foods that you should be avoiding and what are the foods you should be adding, and you become your own best case study. We call it N of 1 medicine,
No, that's awesome. Everything about what I do is N of 1, and what I've actually, I didn't realize the magnitude of the difference that you were doing with the 10-day detox.
Yeah. It's really extraordinary. I still think about it and I go like, wow, how did that happen? Like that is amazing. I mean, we had one person who was doing it, and she was heart failure, type 2 diabetes. She was massively overweight. Her body mass index was 43, normal is 25. She was, we call it severely or morbidly obese, we used to call it. She had hypertension, heart failure, kidneys were failing, fatty liver, multiple stents, type 2 diabetes, on insulin. 3 days, she was off her insulin. 3 months, her A1C, which is her average blood sugar, went from 11, which is wildly out of control.
Yeah.
She was on a very aggressive medication regimen that her copay was $20,000 a year.
Whoa.
Her copay, not what the government paid through Medicare. Yeah. And in 3 months, she was off all her medications. She lost 43 pounds. Her A1C went from 11 to 5.5. Her heart failure reversed. Her ejection fraction went from in the 30s to 50%, which is, again, never seen in medicine. Off her medication. Her fatty liver resolved, her hypertension resolved, and her inflammation completely disappeared. And in a year, she lost 116 pounds and had a remarkable renewal of her life. So that's a powerful result that could not be achieved even with the best pharmacological treatments by the best doctors in one of the best institutions in the world, Cleveland Clinic. So when you think about that, you go, well, wow, that's remarkable. Like the body, and she was 66 years old. So the body at any age has the capacity to repair and heal if you provide the right conditions.
Right. In the middle of all these great conversations, sometimes you still need to take a minute to stop and breathe. Let's do that together. We're going to breathe 3 times through the mouth and 3 times through the nose. This is going to activate and rebalance your parasympathetic nervous system so you can absorb more. Breathe in with me through your mouth. 2. Three. Now 3 breaths through the nose. 2. 3. Now with that simple 6 breath reset, you can go back and enjoy more content. If you were to take the mainstream narratives in healthcare right now, and if you were to change any one of them, one of the things outside of nutrition, which we've talked about, is there anything else that you would be pushing at changing?
Yeah, I mean, I think the things that doctors really need to double down on and focus on are, I think the 3 big causes of disease, which are our nutrition, environmental toxins, and our microbiome.
Yes.
And if we understand really what's wrong with those and how to address them and diagnose them, medicine would be totally different. And then, of course, there's other things that have to be attended to, like hormonal balance and mitochondrial function and immune function. But those are
downstream.
Those are downstream.
Yeah.
Those are downstream. Yeah. So mitochondria become dysfunctional because of your food you're eating, or because of toxins, because of change in your microbiome. Your immune system becomes dysregulated because of the same 3 things. So we basically can understand how to reset those things, and the body has this incredible capacity because it wants to be well. The body wants to be well.
It does. It's looking for us to help it, and we're just not listening to the signals anymore, right?
Yeah.
This is what's really cool about your 10-day detox, and now I wasn't aware of the results that you were getting with it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people have gone through it and had success, but at the scale that you're talking about, it just makes me want to add that into. We have this worldwide 28-day reset program.
Right.
It makes me want to add that into there.
Right.
Because we purposely stayed away from nutrition so we could partner with people who have nutrition programs.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Because then the truth is, when you eat well and you change those things, then your tissues will respond differently, right? So if you're constantly eating an anti-inflammatory diet, you can do all the body work and tissue work and fascial release.
Yeah, for sure.
You do, and it may not stick because people are constantly.
Well, that is one of the issues. It's like you said, it's bilateral relationship. If you're doing all this great body work, or you're doing all this great therapy, you're taking care of yourself. So what I've seen, there's a couple things that I've noticed is that a lot of the healthy people are sick right now, and what I've noticed is demineralization. They're drinking demineralized water as one of the issues, and the bodies are becoming hyper demineralized. And I've also seen that if they're not taking care of the physical aspects, the movement of the body, then the rest of it starts to go to hell anyways eventually.
That's right.
Do you prescribe movement as part of?
100%. I mean, I recommend obviously a lot of different types of exercise that people need, whether it's strength training, cardiovascular, flexibility, stability training. And then of course, I encourage people to work through the biomechanical changes that have their structure that get off kilter. And I personally have unfortunately had a lot of biomechanical things that were resulting from various injuries that I've had over 30 years, but I've managed to sort of keep going even though I've had all these problems.
Yes, you have. You're doing a lot better. You look way better than you did when we started today.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Good. I feel good.
Yeah, you look good. You look a lot. In my own personal life, I started to wind down through injuries. I had an injury, starts to take a cycle. My emotion and my ability to move goes down. My cognitive function goes down. It was just a spiral down.
Yeah.
What happened for me is after $2.5 million of trying to find other people to help me, I went into partnership with some doctors and created a clinic. $17.5 million later, I found out that really I had to take care of it myself. I had to be my own doctor every day. I had to balance my food, balance my nutrition. I had to move every day.
Yeah.
How do you, with everything that's gone on with you recently, how have you made it through this last journey, near-death experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was by determination and will and hard work and working through a lot of pain, and it was very hard. But I worked with a physical therapist and trainer 5 days a week. I had electrostimulation, dry needling. I had 3 times a week I had body work.
Do most people know that you went through this?
Some people do, some people don't. But I've had back issues for my whole life, and
Yeah.
so I mean, since I was in my early 30s, and I've managed to navigate life with it, being very active, biking. I was running till I was in my late 50s. I was skiing, biking, playing tennis, ride horses, hike. I mean, I'm very active. So I've maintained, even with disability, I've maintained high level of function. And when I saw my surgeon recently, he said, most people at this point after the surgery we did would be on a walker.
Right.
And you're working out every day.
You're still working out and doing stuff.
Yeah, and I'm back to normal mostly. I'm actually probably stronger than I was before, even.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, was it a slow decline here?
No, it was sudden. It was like I was having some back issues, and then I, had a treatment with an epidural injection, which is commonly used to help with different disc issues. And, I had bad luck, and it got an infection and ended up causing an abscess, and then just spiraling into a rapid descent.
I mean, I can feel that as you're talking.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense.
Yeah.
That's very intense.
I mean, the first, I had 2 surgeries in a month. And the first surgery, they opened me up. They said, we can't fix you. This is too dangerous. The abscess is behind your spinal cord, and we can't get to it. And good luck. And here's some antibiotics, and we hope it works. And that was it.
Really?
They sent me home with a hope and a prayer, and very likelihood of dying. And then
How does that make you feel, being a doctor and a practitioner yourself, and not being able to help yourself? What was that like?
It was tough. The problem was I was so much pain, and I couldn't move, and I was in bed. I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. I couldn't sit up to eat. I mean, it was really incredibly painful, and I was on a lot of pain medication. And even then, I still couldn't function, and I was so cognitively impaired because of the painkillers that I couldn't think, and so I ended up having to rely on my partner, my wife, and others to help, get me to the right.
To navigate.
Yeah, and
did it create a feeling of helplessness?
Yeah, I felt very helpless. I felt really helpless, and I felt like I wasn't able to. I mean, if I'm in this current state I am now, I would have obviously had a different set of choices I made. I would have quickly got a second opinion. I would have quickly gone to see one of the best in the world that I ended up at. But it was a month of just in limbo, and that was very, very difficult. And finally ended up seeing the world's best in neurosurgery at UCSF, and
so
who was expert in complex spine surgery. And he said this was the hardest surgery he'd ever done. It was Hail Mary. He thought I was going to die.
Wow.
Yeah, and
how did you prepare for that? I mean, they're telling you that you might die.
Yeah.
And you're a doctor. You've helped people in these situations. How did it feel to be on the other side of that?
I mean, I wasn't scared so much, but I was at peace, and I've lived a good life, and have a deep spiritual, core that I rely on to navigate my own life. I don't want to die. I didn't want to die, but I was really prepared if that's what was going to happen. And I, said my goodbyes to my family and my wife and my friends, and organized my businesses. And
that's just amazing to go through that experience and be on the other side of it.
Yeah, and went to the operating room, and was remember just the moment I was put under, and saying, okay, maybe this is my last moment of consciousness, and that was it. And then I woke up and I was alive. So here I am.
And this is just a little while ago.
Yeah,
is this the first time you've talked about it
5 months
publicly?
Ago. Yeah, I've talked a little bit about it on my podcast, but yeah, I think this is maybe the first time I've shared it publicly like this. Yeah.
Wow. What did your family go through?
It was frightening for them. They were very scared. Yeah.
That's a trauma in itself.
Yeah.
Have you,
It's deep in my relationships with my family and my friends. So there's been the silver lining.
Have you seen trauma coming out of them as a result, like the release?
I don't know. I definitely have. It's definitely been happy that I'm okay. So.
Yeah. What's next for you? Like, what's the big picture? Like, you have this worldwide network. You're very well known doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've got the clinic.
Yeah.
Where do you go next?
Well, I think there are 2 things that I worked on my whole life, which is disseminating functional medicine at scale, which is why I've written books and why I've taught and created podcasts and education, and do my Dr. Hyman show. But co-founded a company called Function Health that empowers people with their own personal health data, the personal health platform that's driven by AI and machine learning to guide them through their own large data sets, from their medical history to their medical records to biomarkers and lab testing, to their omics, to their microbiome, to wearables, to imaging, and making sense of all that, integrating that with the world's scientific literature and the principles of functional medicine to get to root causes and root cause medicine. And that, I believe, will be something that will far outlast me, that will scale to hopefully billions of people and make a change in healthcare. That's really what
AI.
I'm focused on. Yeah.
AI is making a difference,
Function
right?
Health, yeah, Function Health.
It's making a difference very fast.
Yeah, so it's really helping us. So Function Health is really where I focus a lot of my time now, and also on policy changes and food policy and agricultural policy to fix our food system from the field to the fork, because food is really what's
Field to the fork, I like that.
driving most of chronic disease.
What do you, there's a lot of stuff going on in America right now. RFK is coming through with his,
Yeah.
what do you feel is happening that's good right now in America? What do you feel needs to have more work?
I mean, it's a very complicated situation. I think RFK Jr. is somebody who's very values driven, really cares about the state of the health of Americans, and is doing his best to navigate a very corrupt system that is fighting against him. I think there's a large array of corporations, from the food industry to the agrochemical industry, that is deploying every tool they have to fight against any kind of change in our system.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah, and they are. And he's keeping his head down and working towards creating a better world for all of us. So it's yet to be determined how successful he'll be. But
do you have a hope for? I mean, you're working at the policy level to bring changes, and a lot of that has to do with toxins and foods and environment and stuff like that, right? Mm-hmm. Are we making headway in the United States right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just starting to see these states emerging that are banning food dyes, and they're asking for waivers from the food stamp program so that you can't buy soda or junk food with food. They're demanding medical students be educated in nutrition, like in Texas, where they passed a bill that mandates that. So I think there's changes happening. I think that there's a demand from Bobby Kennedy to the food industry to step up to the plate and do the right thing and get rid of the food dyes. He's calling out, to the food industry to change their food, and we'll see. They're not going to go quietly into the night. They're going to go kicking and screaming before they make change.
What do you think? I mean, in food, they have ingredients in the same food, same manufacturers in other countries, whether it's Canada or...
Yeah, and we're in Sweden now, and they're very strict around their food and the food quality. And they have a food stamp program, and they don't allow any junk food to be used with it. The school lunches are completely different and healthy. The ingredients that are allowed in the food here are very different. So the quality of the food here is remarkably different. And so there are countries that know how to do this and that America can learn from. There are food labeling laws in other countries where you have to have a front of package labeling that says this is going to harm you if you're eating this food. Like we have the cigarette boxes that say, if you smoke these, it's going to kill you. In fact, in Europe, half the package, at least or more, is in giant letters saying if you use this product, it will kill you.
Yeah.
and they're also starting to do that with food. And I think these are things that in America we can learn from.
We're just not moving fast enough, it seems like.
No, I mean we are 48th in life expectancy. We spend more than twice any other nation in healthcare. It's $1 in $5 of our GDP. It's 40% of the total healthcare budget in America of $5 trillion almost is paid for by the federal government. It's $1 in $3 of our tax revenue. Our federal deficit is, I think, now $36 trillion, and every year we're probably adding another couple of trillion to that simply because of the healthcare costs we're spending that are unnecessary. So I think there's an incredible crisis happening in America right now, and it's
Yeah.
a great awakening around health, which I'm very pleased about. It's very politicized, which doesn't make sense to me because cells don't have an ideology,
Yeah.
don't have a political persuasion. Your mitochondria aren't Republican or Democrat. Your microbiome isn't Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
So it affects all of us, wherever you come from, whether you're red, blue, or purple, or agnostic. It's really important for us to come together as a country to deal with this because it's threatening our economic survival. We're seeing, the bond markets changing, and the talk about the American dollar not being the
reserve currency.
reserve currency of the world. We're seeing a lot of instability in markets, and there's a lot of reasons for that in America. But one of the reasons I strongly believe is because of the contribution to our federal deficit from the healthcare costs, and also the burden on companies that have to pay those costs through being privately insured through their employers, plus the amount of lost productivity and competitiveness because of that. There's $2 trillion lost globally in productivity because of people being chronically ill. So these are fixable problems, or they have a solution. I mean, I can't end war, I can't solve the crisis in the Middle East, but this is a slam dunk solvable problem.
Sure.
There's no lack of knowledge or science or education or tools we have to fix it. We just don't have the political will. We don't have the policies that will make it happen, and we don't hold to account the companies that are creating the problem of disease.
Where do we start? Where do we start to make that change, in your opinion?
I think we need to have policies that are helping to shift our society from profiting off of disease to profiting off of health.
Fair statement.
And what now we have is a society where all the profits are privatized and all the costs are socialized. So the companies that make us sick don't pay the price of us being sick.
Right.
If you're a manufacturer of a soda or processed food that's being then subsidized by the government to about $125 billion a year for food stamps, we're basically causing the problem. And the food companies are not paying for Medicare and Medicaid at the back end that takes care of our chronically ill people.
If they were,
in
it would
America.
change, right?
Yeah, so they call these externalities, but I don't really think they're externalities. They're inherent in the problem. Like when we have a drug that has a side effect, we call it a side effect. It's not a side effect. It's an effect we don't like.
Yeah,
right? And we call it a side effect, but it's actually an effect of the drug. Just like when you eat lots of sugar and processed food, it's going to make you sick. That's not a side effect. That's the effect of these foods on your body. And the companies that are making these foods are not paying the cost of human suffering, and the cost of healthcare, and the cost of lost productivity, and the cost to society, and the cost to our economy. They're not paying that. The taxpayers are paying that. And so we need to help people understand that so we can start to shift the incentives to drive the getting healthy, being profitable, whereas being sick is not profitable.
It comes back to accountability.
Yeah. And there are countries that understand this, like in the UAE, they are the payer and the provider.
We see that.
They take care of their
Yeah.
own people and have built a health infrastructure that is designed to help move their population towards health, because the government's paying the bill, but they're also providing the care.
Yes.
So they actually can solve the problem. The incentives are aligned, whereas in America, they're not aligned.
We have that since we're over there working with them right now at a government level to implement programs nationwide. Well, they're very aware that all of diseases are not working, or they're at heights like infertility,
Diabetes,
autoimmune, stuff
yeah.
like that. But they don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
But they're open.
Yeah, for sure.
I know that we've got to end right now, Mark, but if there's one thing that you could get across to people, one message that you want everybody in the world to hear, what is that message?
I would want people to know that if they've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, like Dorothy, who had the ruby red slippers and she could get back to Kansas anytime she wanted, that we all have the power to create health in our bodies. if we know what to do. And if we understand that we're the sea of our own health, that we have to be empowered to be in control, and that we can use food as medicine to optimize our health, I think it would be a very different world.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark. It's been really great getting to know you. From the other side, in person, a little bit. I'm looking forward to spend some more time.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll do some more of this work.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
Thanks
for
for your
coming
help,
out today.
Gary. Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoyed this content, follow us on social media channels, The Human Garage Experience, Apple, Spotify, and all other channels. We're on a mission to inspire 1 billion people worldwide, and the way that you participate is by liking, subscribing, and sharing our content. Every share that you take brings us one step closer to that billion people. This has been a fantastic episode. We enjoyed presenting it to you. Be a part of this worldwide revolution and share it now.